Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a campground review for you in probably near one of the coolest areas we've seen in Virginia in a while. So we hope you enjoy it.
Right, so we just stayed for our first trip of the season at the Luray KOA, and that is in the at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So you have Shenandoah National Park on one side of you and the George Washington National Forest on the other side of you.
And the campground itself is surrounded by farms. So there's cows on one side, and then it looks like some sort of crops in the back, and then sheep on the other side with a llama or
Or an
alpaca or
something.
something like that. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty quiet out there, even though it's
Yeah.
close to a state highway. We were far enough away that we didn't really hear it. And when you first pull in, there's the office and the billiards room and the pool.
Two pools.
Two pools, that's right. And then you can turn right there and go down to, well, there's a huge dog park. Huge dog
Probably
park.
the biggest dog park I've ever seen of any campground.
And then there's an area of yurts and the tent sites.
And there's their own bathroom or bathhouse down there with those yurts and tent sites. So, because this is all downhill from where the regular RV sites are. So that's really nice because they don't have to go too far for that. And that bathhouse also has on the backside, it calls it a camping kitchen. And basically it's like a prep table and a couple of sinks, I think.
Yeah. And then you go up the hill, and that's where all the RV sites are. And we had a deluxe site with the patio, and many of the sites there had concrete fire pits. So that made it real nice. And like the deluxe sites all surround a big open field. So at night you could see all the different fires going there. How many sites were there?
I think it was around 70, 75 sites, it looked like. Most of them had a lot of space. There were a few smaller, like back-end sites, but they still seemed to have a decent amount of space between like them and their neighbor. Nobody was awning to awning like some places we've been at. And then the deluxe sites were tons of space. And then there was what I would call Big Rig Row. They were back ends, but they were the longest back ends I've seen of almost any place. And it was like a whole row of the big rig fifth wheels like we used to have.
And then they had another row of spots that were back in that you could overlook the yurts and the field behind them. And so it was a really nice view for sitting around a campfire.
Yeah, and they were like at the top of the hill, and they're called pergola sites because your site backs right up, and then you have a concrete patio with a pergola. And then below that is where there were the two chairs and the built-in fire pit. And so it's on this slope, and you just have the most phenomenal view, I think.
Yeah. The pool wasn't open, of course, and some of the office wasn't open. They did contactless check-in, which was really nice. Especially for reclusives like me that don't like to deal with people. But they, because of COVID, they didn't have the office open. So I thought that was really good. It was still very efficient, and the park was very clean.
And they called us the day before just to verify like about what time we thought we might come in and to see if we wanted firewood delivered to our site. So that was kind of neat.
And then as far as the town of Luray goes, they had a really nice walking trail that goes along Hawksbill Creek. It was called
The Hawksbill Greenway, and it's like 4 miles long, and they call it a multi-use trail. So there were people walking and riding bikes and running. And there was a couple of buildings along there that had these cool murals painted on the side of them.
Yeah, and they also had a little rock garden, I guess it was.
Yeah, painted rock garden. So sometimes when you travel, you might see that people like hide or kind of hide in plain sight painted rocks. And this one, there was a whole bunch of them, and they all had like inspirational messages and stuff. And they said, if you need one, or if you know someone who needs one, take one, give it to them, and then just, pay it forward, basically.
Yeah. But like the creme de la creme of Luray is the Luray Caverns.
Yeah.
And it was amazing.
It really was. I mean, this is the oldest. Is it the oldest or the largest?
Largest.
The largest caverns on the east coast of the United States, or in the eastern United States, I think they said. And at first you don't really think it's really going to be that big, because all you do from where the entrance is, where you get your tickets, is you just go down one little hill and another little one, and they're just little ramps. They're not majorly steep. It feels like you're going down one story maybe.
Yeah.
But then when you get inside these caverns, they're massive.
Yeah, they were, I think at one point we were either 184 or 186 feet below the surface. One area in there, you can look 10 stories up and see. And the cool thing about it was a 1.25 miles, I think, walk. And it was all paved fairly well. So even if you had a baby stroller or
a wheelchair,
you could probably get around in there pretty easily.
Yeah.
And even though it was COVID, they have social distancing and you have to wear a mask, and they had people stationed throughout the caverns that work there to not only point out some significant features, but to also make sure people were following the rules.
Yeah,
so
I'm wearing masks,
really
and like he said, also pointing out some features, because it was I'm not sure if it's always this way, but at least when we went, it is self-guided tours.
Yeah. And it's a national landmark. And probably the coolest thing in there was the reflection pool that they have in there. We don't want to spoil it for you, but we do have a couple clips in the video. But you really have to see it for yourself to see how amazing that really is.
Yeah, to really appreciate the scale, I think, of it especially. You definitely have to go yourself. And here's a money-saving tip I found just looking around their website, because anytime I go somewhere, I'm one of these people, like if I go to a restaurant, I have to look at the menu online beforehand. So we were going to Luray Caverns, and so I wanted to read a little bit about it. And I noticed that it said you could pay full price for one ticket and then get 50% off the second adult ticket, which the tickets were $30 a person. So that was $15 off. And then you could do it for each, subsequent adult, I think. Like you pay for one and get half off one if you had a Martin's or Giant card. So these are grocery stores that are out here in the East Coast. But even if you're never going to go to Martin's or Giant's, if you download their app and then just sign up for a free card, and you can opt out of any emails, so it's not spamming your email box. You just show your phone with the app on it, and we were able to get... It was Sean and I and our son and daughter-in-law, and so we got $30 off, 15 off for each of the pairs.
Yeah, and then also that ticket, they have other kind of things on the property. So they have a antique car museum, and that ticket gets you in to see the antique car museum, which was pretty cool. They have a lot of cars in there. Surprised me for, just the kind of next to a cavern. Who would imagine these fancy old cars? But really interesting.
They had an old steam fire truck, which I thought was pretty cool. At first I thought it was like the steam was like a steam engine, but that's not what it was. The steam was used to pump the water, it said. So yeah, there was a lot of neat things. And there was also included in that same ticket was a toy museum, and then a like Shenandoah history type museum. And then there were a few other things like a zip line and things like that you could pay extra money to go do if you wanted to make a whole day out of it. And then they had like a little restaurant, and a lot of people, I noticed, we didn't eat there because we weren't staying that far away, but I noticed a lot of people were getting their food to go, because then there was a little lake outside with a huge grassy area, a bunch of picnic tables. And so people were taking their food out there and enjoying it. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah, yeah. And so, it's a great spot for a few days to see the area and maybe go do some hiking in the Shenandoah National Park. and go check out the caverns and just relax, really, at the campground with the sounds of domestic wildlife around you.
Domestic wildlife.
But we really like the campground. We'll definitely go back, and we really appreciated our time there.
It's going to be our staycation spot from now on, I think. Yeah. Nice little getaway.
So we hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe if you did, and let us know if you stayed there and what you thought of the Luray KOA. And until we see you on the road, safe travels, everyone.